The Kalari fleet drifted silently through the cold emptiness of space. Their ships were old and battered, streaked with scorch marks from battles that had already been lost. Once, they had been proud members of the Galactic Council, respected for their knowledge of deep space navigation and their unique ability to harness stellar energy. But that had been before the war, before betrayal had torn their homeworld apart and forced them to flee. Now their fleet was small, tired, and desperate. Captain Thalen of the Kalari stood on the bridge of the lead ship, staring at the holographic display of nearby star systems. Each one was either fully occupied, hostile, or under strict galactic quarantine. The Kalari were unwelcome everywhere. "They have closed all their gates," Thalen said quietly, his voice tinged with exhaustion. "Every council member refuses to help us. They do not even see us as refugees. We are mistakes to them. Somewhere that will not turn us away because of fear." The fleet approached the edge of human-explored space. Humans were known throughout the galaxy for their curiosity and for their unpredictability. They had a reputation for being reckless but also resourceful. Thalen did not know if humans could be trusted, but he knew he had no choice. A small human survey vessel appeared on the Kalari's sensors. Its hull gleamed with sunlight reflecting off its surface, and it moved with a confidence that came from years of exploration and experience. Thalen authorized a communication signal. "This is Captain Thalen of the Kalari fleet," the message said. "We seek asylum. We are refugees of a civil war. We have nowhere else to go. We ask for your aid." Then a human voice responded, calm and firm. "This is Captain Alara Voss of the United Earth Exploration Corps. You are welcome to land on Nova Prime. Prepare for docking procedures." They actually want to help us. The humans had created a world that was beautiful and functional. When the Kalari landed, they were greeted by humans in uniforms of soft blue and white. Captain Alara Voss herself stepped forward, extending a hand in greeting. Thalen hesitated, then mirrored the gesture as best as his alien anatomy allowed. "Welcome to Nova Prime," Alara said. "You are safe here." Their buildings were strong but elegant, powered by solar and kinetic energy. They had created food sources that required minimal land but provided plenty of nutrition. The Kalari, who had relied on advanced but fragile systems, found the human methods surprisingly efficient. Children ran freely in the open spaces, laughing and playing. Scientists worked alongside engineers to test new equipment, while farmers tended to hydroponic gardens that stretched under massive domes. Everywhere the Kalari looked, they saw humans working together, solving problems with ingenuity rather than fear. Thalen observed the humans carefully. They were not perfect, of course. Some argued loudly in the streets. Some experimented recklessly, risking small failures for the chance of discovery. But they were resilient. Every failure led to new solutions. Every disagreement led to compromise. The Kalari had never seen anything like it. A week after their arrival, a small emergency tested their trust. A sudden electrical storm struck one of the domes, causing a fire to break out near the hydroponic gardens. Humans and Kalari worked together instinctively. The humans used water jets and shields to control the fire, while the Kalari applied their knowledge of energy manipulation to stabilize the damaged systems. By the time the fire was extinguished, the dome was intact, and the garden had been saved. Thalen looked around at his crew. They were no longer weary or fearful. They were alive with new energy, inspired by the humans' courage and determination. Alara approached him after the crisis. "Your people worked well," she said. "You have skills we do not fully understand, but here we can combine what we know. Together we can do more than survive." His people were safe. They were welcome, and perhaps finally they could begin to rebuild. The Kalari began to settle in, learning human customs and sharing their own knowledge in return. They introduced new technologies for energy storage, communication, and navigation. The humans listened eagerly, asking questions, testing ideas, and incorporating Kalari methods into their own systems. Even the children began to bond. Kalari children taught humans how to sense energy fields in the environment, while human children taught Kalari games that emphasized creativity and problem-solving. The differences between the species became strengths. Where one lacked, the other excelled. Yet not everything was easy. Some Kalari struggled to adapt to human food, to human humor, to human impatience. Some humans found Kalari customs strange or difficult to understand. Misunderstandings occurred, but they were always met with discussion rather than conflict. Slowly, the two species learned to communicate, to respect differences, and to work as one. As the days turned into weeks, news of the Kelari's refuge spread. Other humans from neighboring colonies arrived, curious to see the outcasts who had been rejected by the galaxy. Some offered help, bringing supplies, expertise, and friendship. The Kelari began to feel that this was more than a temporary haven. This was a place where they could thrive. Thalen walked through the city one evening, watching humans and Kelari interact. He saw children playing together, adults working side by side, and new structures being built that combined both species' knowledge. For the first time, he allowed himself to hope, not just for survival, but for a future where his people could prosper and belong. Ilara joined him, her expression calm but determined. "You see," she said, "the galaxy may have rejected you, but we do not. Here you are more than refugees. You are partners, allies, and friends. And together we will show that kindness and courage can achieve what fear and prejudice cannot." "Perhaps," he said, "we have finally found a home." And for the first time in a long time, Thalen believed that maybe, just maybe, the universe could be changed, not through war or power, but through trust, compassion, and the courage to welcome the rejected. As night fell, the city glowed softly, a beacon in the darkness. Somewhere in the galaxy, the Council would hear of this place and scoff. But here on Nova Prime, a new story had begun. A story where humans and Kelari would prove that strength was not measured by weapons or status, but by the willingness to stand together, even when the universe said you were alone. And so, the Kelari began their first days among humans, not as outcasts, but as equals. Each day brought challenges and lessons, but also small victories and moments of joy. The fear that had haunted them through the void began to fade, replaced by hope, curiosity, and the quiet knowledge that they had finally found a place where they belonged. The Kelari had been on Nova Prime for several weeks, and their initial awe of the humans had deepened into quiet admiration. They were still cautious, of course. Trust had been broken too many times in the past. But the humans had proven themselves in ways that no other civilization had. They did not see the Kelari as burdens or threats. They saw them as partners, capable of learning, teaching, and creating together. Captain Thalen walked through the central square of the city, observing a group of human engineers working alongside Kelari technicians. Together, they were constructing a new energy grid to expand the city's power supply. The humans' methods were different, less precise than the Kelari were used to, but their creativity was remarkable. Where the Kelari planned every move in careful calculation, the humans tried new solutions on the spot, learning from failure almost as quickly as from success. Leora joined him, her eyes scanning the busy scene. "Look at them," she said. "They are not afraid to experiment even when they might fail. Our people could learn something from that. They may not know the full depth of the stars, but they understand how to make ideas work in reality." It was not always easy. Kelari were precise, methodical, and expected every process to be followed exactly. Humans were improvisational, often breaking or bending rules to discover new solutions. Sometimes, frustration flared on both sides, but the conflicts were always brief and ended with laughter or compromise. One afternoon, a young Kelari named Vayan approached a human engineer named Mara. "Your system of water recycling is strange," he said, tilting his head in curiosity. "It seems inefficient." "Trust me, we've been doing it for a long time." It was a small victory, but it symbolized the growing cooperation between the species. Meanwhile, rumors of the Kelari sanctuary had spread to neighboring human colonies. Curious humans arrived, some offering aid, some merely observing. They brought resources, knowledge, and companionship. The Kelari were amazed by the generosity of a species that did not owe them anything, yet gave freely. They had been conditioned to expect rejection, suspicion, or even hostility wherever they went. But here, humans did not ask questions, they only helped. The Kelari children were equally fascinated. They had never seen beings so unpredictable, so energetic, so full of laughter. At first, the children kept their distance, watching humans play games and interact with each other. But soon, curiosity overcame caution. They joined in, learning games that relied on imagination, storytelling, and quick thinking. In return, they taught human children to sense energy fluctuations, to notice small changes in their environment, and to understand patterns in the stars. One evening, Thalen stood on a balcony overlooking the settlement. The suns were setting, casting a warm glow over the city. He watched humans and Kelari moving about, some working together on projects, others simply talking and laughing. It was a simple scene, yet profoundly moving. "They are remarkable," Leora said, joining him. "Even after all we have lost, we can rebuild here, with them." The galaxy had not forgotten the Kelari. Their enemies still hunted them, and the Galactic Council remained wary of humans' growing influence. "This place is safe for now," he said, "but we cannot ignore what lies beyond the stars." A small fleet of raiders, remnants of the Kelari's former enemies, had entered human-controlled space. They were seeking vengeance, believing the Kelari had abandoned their obligations and defied the galactic order. Humans and Kelari rushed to prepare defenses. The city's shields were reinforced, energy channels stabilized, and weapon turrets calibrated. Humans worked quickly, improvising solutions when equipment malfunctioned. Kelari provided precise calculations for targeting and energy management. Together, they formed a coordinated defense that was stronger than either could achieve alone. The first attack came at dusk. Raiders swooped down in small, fast ships, attempting to disable the city's shields. Humans piloted interceptors, weaving through enemy fire with daring maneuvers, while Kelari used energy bursts to destabilize the raiders' systems. The battle was intense but brief. Cooperation and adaptability won the day. The raiders retreated, surprised by the unexpected unity of the humans and Kelari. After the attack, Captain Alara Voss addressed the settlement. "This victory is proof," she said, her voice firm and calm, "that together we are stronger. They may have rejected you, but we do not, and together we will face whatever comes next." But here they saw a new kind of strength, one built on trust, creativity, and the willingness to embrace differences. The days that followed were filled with rebuilding and preparation. Humans and Kelari worked side by side to repair minor damages from the raid, improve defenses, and create early warning systems. Every problem was approached as a team challenge. Mistakes were learning opportunities and successes were shared triumphs. Amid the work, bonds formed. Humans taught Kelari about humor, storytelling, and improvisation. Kelari shared knowledge of the stars, energy manipulation, and advanced navigation techniques. Respect grew alongside friendship. The Kelari began to understand that humans' unpredictability was not a flaw, it was a source of strength. They saw that humans could face impossible odds with courage, using creativity where others relied solely on technology. One afternoon, a group of Kelari scientists approached Thalen with an idea. "We can help improve their ships," one said. "With our energy systems and their designs, we can create vessels capable of faster travel and better defense. It will make us safer, and it will strengthen our bond. That humanity is capable of embracing the rejected and turning them into partners." The ships flew faster, handled better, and were more resilient than any human or Kelari vessel alone could be. The Kelari began to see the truth of what they had found. Humans were not perfect, but they were determined. They were creative, adaptable, and willing to take risks for the sake of others. They did not judge, they did not reject. They simply acted, and they acted with purpose. Thalen found himself walking through the city at night, watching human children play beneath the glowing lights of the domes. Kelari children joined them, laughing and shouting in a mixture of languages and gestures. For the first time in years, Thalen felt peace. He realized that this was what his people had been missing: acceptance, belonging, and the chance to grow without fear of rejection. Alara joined him on the balcony, looking out at the same scene. "They are learning from you," she said softly. "And you are learning from them. That is how we survive, how we grow stronger, not by isolating ourselves, but by embracing what we can learn from each other." "They always do," she said, "but that is fine, it gives us the chance to prove them wrong." And most importantly, they had found humans who believed in the strength of compassion, creativity, and courage. In the days and weeks to come, humans and Kelari would face new challenges together. They would test each other, learn from each other, and discover what could be achieved when two species refused to let fear and prejudice dictate their future. For the first time in a long time, the Kelari felt hope, not just for survival, but for a future where they could belong, where they could contribute, and where they could stand with humanity as equals, partners, and friends. The Kelari and humans had settled into a rhythm. Daily life on Nova Prime had become a careful balance of work, learning, and friendship. Yet even in this sanctuary, challenges were never far away. Beyond the colony, the galaxy continued to watch, its politics cold and calculating. Whispers traveled through space, speaking of a small human colony that had welcomed alien refugees. Some saw opportunity, others saw a threat. Captain Thalen felt the weight of this attention as he walked through the central hub of the colony. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly, improving the city's defenses and experimenting with new energy systems. Kelari and humans collaborated smoothly now, their earlier hesitations replaced by a sense of purpose. Yet Thalen could not ignore the sense of unease that lingered. The past had taught him that peace could vanish in an instant. Leora joined him, her silver skin glinting under the soft lights. "You still worry," she said. "Do you think the galaxy will come for us?" Small, fast-moving ships appeared on the edge of the system, traveling in tight formations. They bore the markings of the Sarkari, remnants of the Kelari's former enemies. The same fleet that had driven the Kelari from their homeworld now sought to finish what it had started. Ilara Voss was the first to act. "We cannot let them reach the colony," she said firmly. "Prepare the defenses. Alert every pilot and technician. We fight together or we fail together." Thalen stood on the observation deck, watching the incoming ships. "They are small in number," he said, "but they are skilled. Underestimating them would be a mistake." The sight was remarkable. Humans flew with daring maneuvers, weaving through enemy fire with audacity and speed. Kelari pilots used precision attacks, calculating energy bursts that disabled the raiders' shields without destroying their ships outright. Together, they created a coordinated defense the Sarkari had never encountered. The battle was intense. Explosions lit the void as ships collided with shields and energy blasts. Pilots shouted warnings and encouragement over comms, human and Kelari voices blending into a single chorus of determination. For every setback, there was a solution. For every attack, a counter. On the ground, the colony prepared for possible landings. Defense teams worked tirelessly, creating barriers, energy nets, and emergency shelters. Children were kept safe under protective domes, while adults of both species monitored the battle from control centers. Despite the danger, cooperation shone. A Kelari scientist named Rylan worked with a human engineer named Jace to stabilize the city's shields after a direct strike. Sparks flew from damaged circuits, but their combined efforts restored power in moments. "We complement each other," Jace said, wiping soot from his face. "You see the problem mathematically, I see it practically. Together, we fix it faster than either could alone." One of the Sarkari command ships attempted to breach the city's orbital defenses, relying on brute force. Human pilots tried daring attacks, but the enemy was skilled, maneuvering around their formations. Thalen realized a direct strike was needed, one that required the Kelari's energy manipulation skills combined with human daring. "Rylan," he called over comms. "Can your energy system focus a burst at the command ship's core?" The plan was risky. Failure could destroy her ship, the energy system, or both, but there was no other choice. Thalen coordinated with Rylan, while human and Kelari pilots covered Ilara's approach. The interceptor weaved through enemy fire, dodging blasts that would have destroyed larger ships. Rylan focused energy into a concentrated beam, synchronized perfectly with Ilara's path. At the last moment, the energy struck the enemy ship's core. A brilliant light filled the viewport as the command ship was disabled, its weapons offline. The remaining raiders, seeing their leader incapacitated, retreated swiftly. The system fell silent once more. Cheers erupted across the colony. Humans and Kelari alike celebrated, not just for survival, but for the proof that cooperation and trust could overcome even the most skilled foes. Thalen felt a surge of pride. The Kelari had once believed that power alone could save them, but here, unity had triumphed where strength might have failed. After the battle, there was much to do. Damages had to be repaired, resources replenished, and the younger Kelari and humans needed reassurance that the danger had passed. Thalen and Ilara walked through the city together, observing the cleanup efforts. Children laughed again as they helped rebuild minor structures, and adults worked tirelessly, their determination unbroken. "You see it now," Ilara said, her eyes calm but strong. "This is what happens when we work together, when we trust each other. The galaxy may reject some, but here, we create our own destiny. But we will show them otherwise together." The bonds forged in battle grew stronger, turning allies into friends and friends into a family that spanned two species. Yet there was a new awareness among the Kelari. They had survived the first attack, but they understood that peace was temporary. The galaxy was vast, and hostility could emerge at any time. They began preparing for a future where they would not only defend themselves, but also extend humanity's influence as a force for protection, knowledge, and cooperation. One evening, Thalen observed a group of Kalari and human children playing together under the soft lights of the domes. They moved with confidence, laughing, experimenting, and helping each other in ways that neither species could have imagined alone. He realized that the next generation would carry the lessons of unity forward, blending Kalari precision with human creativity in a way that could reshape the galaxy itself. Alara joined him, standing quietly by his side. "They will be stronger than either of us," she said softly. "They will see possibilities we cannot, and they will teach the galaxy that fear and rejection are not inevitable. Acceptance and cooperation can change everything." Yet here on Nova Prime, they had found something more than safety. They had found a partner in humanity, a species that refused to see them as lesser, and a chance to be more than they ever imagined. The next morning, the colony resumed its daily life with renewed energy. Humans and Kalari worked side by side, not just to survive, but to thrive. New projects were proposed, from improved energy networks to expanded training programs for pilots. Every success, every small victory was shared between the species, reinforcing the lessons learned during the battle. And while the galaxy beyond still watched with suspicion, the Kalari no longer feared it. They had discovered something far more valuable than any council's approval or any distant system's resources. They had discovered trust, unity, and the extraordinary power of humans who would welcome the rejected, the outcasts, and the desperate, and turn them into allies, friends, and equals. Thalen knew that this was only the beginning. Greater challenges awaited. New threats would arise. But for the first time in his life, he was not afraid. The Kalari had found a home. They had found humanity. And together they would face the future not as outcasts, but as a force that no enemy could ignore. Nova Prime glowed under the twin suns, a beacon of hope in the darkness of the galaxy. The stars beyond no longer seemed cold and distant. They were full of possibility, ready to be explored, challenged, and transformed by the unity of two very different species who had chosen to stand together. And so, life continued on Nova Prime, vibrant and determined. Humans and Kalari trained, experimented, and grew together, knowing that whatever the galaxy might throw at them, they would meet it as one. They had survived the first attack. They had proven their strength, and they were ready for whatever came next. Life on Nova Prime had settled into a new rhythm after the Raider attack. The colony was stronger, and humans and Kalari worked side by side with a shared confidence. Yet beyond their borders, the galaxy stirred with concern. Word of a human colony that had not only sheltered Kalari refugees, but also integrated them fully had spread. The Galactic Council, long accustomed to rigid hierarchy and control, viewed this unusual alliance with suspicion. One morning, scouts reported the arrival of a galactic delegation. Sleek, polished ships hovered at the edge of Nova Prime's system, their markings unmistakable. The emissaries of the Council had come to demand the return of the Kalari. Captain Thalen and Alara Voss convened with the colony's leadership. The room buzzed with tension as engineers, scientists, and military advisors debated the Council's intentions. "They want the Kalari handed over," Thalen said quietly, his gaze fixed on the holomap of the incoming ships. "They do not see them as refugees. They see them as property of the galaxy to be used or punished as the Council wishes. The Kalari are part of this colony, part of this community, and they are equals." Hybrid ships, improved energy systems, and coordinated defense plans were put in place. The Kalari contributed their knowledge of interstellar navigation and energy manipulation, while humans applied their creativity and adaptability to fortify the colony. Meanwhile, diplomats from both species began preparations for the arrival of the Council representatives. The humans understood that diplomacy required more than words. It required demonstration. They had to show the Council that cooperation between humans and Kalari was not a weakness, but a strength. When the emissaries finally arrived, they were met not with submission, but with confidence. Alara and Thalen stood together on the observation platform, overseeing the city that symbolized the unity of their species. The Council representatives, elegant and imposing, were clearly unimpressed. "You have violated protocol by harboring Kalari without Council approval," one said, his voice cold and precise. "This colony must surrender the refugees or face sanctions." "Do you understand the consequences?" the spokesperson asked. "The Council may take action against you. This colony may be isolated or destroyed." Nova Prime is proof that unity and compassion can achieve what threats and intimidation cannot. Humans and Kelari moved together with purpose, repairing structures, maintaining systems, and training pilots. To demonstrate their point, Alara proposed a challenge. "If you doubt our strength," she said, "we invite you to witness a test, a mission beyond our system. If we succeed, it will prove that our cooperation is more than words, it is action." A remote, uncharted system had been identified where a lost galactic artifact, an ancient device of strategic importance, was located. If humans and Kelari could retrieve it safely, it would prove their competence and their ability to work together under pressure. Thalen coordinated with Rylan and other Kelari scientists to design the mission. Hybrid ships would be used, blending Kelari energy systems with human designs. The crew would be a mix of pilots, engineers, and scientists from both species. Every detail was planned carefully, yet flexibility was built into the mission, knowing humans thrived on improvisation. As the team departed, Alara and Thalen observed from the command center. The emissaries watched silently, their expressions unreadable. The journey to the uncharted system was fraught with challenges. Asteroid fields, fluctuating energy fields, and unstable gravity wells tested the team's coordination. But every time a problem arose, the humans' quick thinking complemented the Kelari's precision. When they finally reached the artifact, they discovered it was guarded by an unstable energy field that threatened to collapse the surrounding space. Human pilots adapted their flight paths, weaving through dangerous zones with daring maneuvers, while Kelari scientists calculated energy patterns to stabilize the field just enough to retrieve the device. It was a tense operation, requiring trust and communication. A single miscalculation could have destroyed the artifact, or worse, the hybrid ships themselves. But the team worked seamlessly, blending instinct with calculation, creativity with precision. After hours of careful coordination, the artifact was secured. The return journey was equally challenging, but the crew's cooperation ensured success. When they re-entered Nova Prime's system, the colony erupted in celebration. Humans and Kelari alike cheered, not just for the artifact, but for the proof that their unity was real and effective. The council emissaries were visibly impressed. They had expected hesitation, disorganization, or failure. Instead, they saw a coordinated, efficient, and resilient team that had achieved the impossible. The humans and Kelari had not only survived the mission, they had excelled. One emissary stepped forward, addressing Alara and Thalen. "Your actions are impressive," he said slowly. "It appears that your cooperation is more than symbolic. Perhaps there is merit in what you have created here. Strength comes from unity, compassion, and the courage to act for the greater good. Your colony, your alliance, it may influence the Council's decisions in the future." The Kelari were safe, the colony was thriving, and humans had demonstrated that their ingenuity and compassion could change perceptions across the stars. Back on the ground, the Kelari celebrated with humans. Dances, games, and shared meals filled the city with life. Children ran through the streets, laughing and shouting in a mixture of languages. Adults shared stories, lessons, and laughter, bridging the gap between species with every word and gesture. Rylan approached Thalen with a small device, a gift for the humans. "This is a token of our gratitude," he said. "It is designed using Kelari energy patterns but adapted to human technology. It symbolizes our cooperation. We will treasure it, as a reminder that together we are stronger than any council, any fleet, or any challenge. The galaxy may still resist, but we now have evidence that humanity's approach, compassion, creativity, courage, can achieve what intimidation never could." The fear that had once haunted the Kelari was gone, replaced by a sense of purpose, belonging, and hope. He realized that this alliance was more than survival. It was a statement to the galaxy. That strength did not come from ruling or rejecting others, but from embracing differences, working together, and daring to hope. Humans had shown the Kelari what it meant to be part of a community that valued every individual, no matter their origin or history. As the twin suns of Nova Prime set, casting golden light over the domes and streets, Thalen understood that the colony's success was not temporary. Humans and Kelari had built something lasting, a foundation for the future, a proof that the rejected could thrive and that unity could overcome fear and prejudice. And so, Nova Prime glowed in the darkness of space, a beacon of hope and proof of what could be achieved when two species chose to trust, work together, and refused to be defined by the judgments of the galaxy. Humans and Kelari had survived the Council's scrutiny, proven their strength, and shown that cooperation, compassion, and ingenuity were forces more powerful than fear or rejection. The story of their alliance was far from over. Greater challenges awaited, but the colony now had confidence in its unity. They had faced outsiders, danger, and skepticism, and had prevailed. Together, they would continue to explore, innovate, and inspire, not just for themselves, but for a galaxy that had long underestimated the power of humanity. Life on Nova Prime had reached a new stage. Humans and Kelari had proven their unity, survived raiders, and even convinced the Galactic Council emissaries of their capability. Yet the colony was no longer just a safe haven. It had become a hub of innovation, exploration, and inspiration. The two species had discovered that their strengths complemented each other, creating possibilities neither could achieve alone. Captain Thalen walked through the central square, observing the bustling activity. Hybrid ships were being repaired, tested, and redesigned. Engineers from both species collaborated effortlessly, sharing ideas, methods, and techniques. Students of all ages, human and Kelari, were learning together, exploring the principles of energy, navigation, and strategy. The city hummed with life, a living testament to the power of cooperation. Leora joined him, her eyes scanning the horizon. "It is remarkable," she said softly. "Our people could have hidden, remained cautious, and survived quietly. But here we are thriving, because of humans." "The Council may still resist," she said, "but we have proven that humans and Kelari can create something the galaxy cannot ignore. This colony, these people, they are a message. Strength comes from acceptance, courage, and cooperation." Scientists and engineers developed faster energy transport systems, combining Kelari energy manipulation with human improvisation. Pilots trained in hybrid flight techniques, blending precision with daring maneuvers. Students experimented with experimental communication systems, designed to reach farther into space than any human or Kelari device had before. During one training session, a young Kelari named Vayan piloted a hybrid interceptor alongside a human named Mara. They wove through an obstacle course of energy fields, asteroids, and gravity wells. At first, Vayan hesitated, concerned about human improvisation. But Mara's quick thinking saved them from collisions multiple times. By the end of the course, Vayan realized that adaptability could be just as valuable as calculation. Later, Mara laughed. "See, sometimes thinking on your feet is better than thinking too long." The shields were capable of expanding rapidly to protect entire regions of terrain, a design that combined Kelari energy control with human mobility. These shields were not just defensive. They became tools for terraforming, for research, and for protecting vulnerable life forms in uncharted systems. The colony's success did not go unnoticed. Messages arrived from neutral systems, curious about the alliance and seeking guidance on integrating refugees and outcasts. Nova Prime had become a symbol of what could be achieved when compassion and intelligence worked together. Even the Galactic Council, though slow to adapt, began to reconsider its rigid policies. They could not dismiss the human-Kelari alliance, especially after the successful mission to retrieve the ancient artifact and the demonstration of the colony's resilience under threat. Thalen walked through one of the settlement's gardens, observing humans and Kelari planting new crops. The Kelari had adapted to human agricultural methods, while humans learned to harness subtle Kelari energy flows to enhance growth. Children ran between them, laughing and learning, mixing the two cultures into something entirely new. "Do you think the galaxy will ever accept this?" Leora asked, watching a group of children experiment with energy fields that manipulated water flow. Thalen considered it. "Perhaps, but acceptance is not what matters most. What matters is that we have created a place where kindness, courage, and cooperation define strength. The galaxy may resist, but it cannot erase what we have built here. A communication network that can transmit data across vast distances instantly. Humans and Kelari together. If we succeed, it will connect Nova Prime to the farthest reaches of the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as teachers, partners, and friends." Failures were frequent, but each mistake was a lesson. By combining their approaches, they achieved results that neither species could have accomplished alone. One evening, Thalen and Alara observed the first successful test from the observation deck. Data pulsed across the galaxy, reaching distant colonies and uncharted systems. It was more than technology. it was a statement. Humans and Kelari had built something that transcended fear, prejudice, and rejection. The colony's unity was further tested when scouts detected unusual energy patterns near a distant, uninhabited system. An unknown phenomenon threatened to destabilize nearby star clusters. The Council had ignored the signals, but Nova Prime could not. Humans and Kelari prepared an expedition to investigate. The team departed in hybrid ships, blending speed and energy manipulation. The journey was dangerous. Gravitational anomalies threatened navigation, and energy storms could disable ships instantly. Yet, each obstacle was met with combined ingenuity. Humans adjusted flight paths in daring ways, while Kelari calculated precise energy shields to stabilize the ships. When they reached the source, they discovered an unstable star on the verge of collapse. It could have caused catastrophic damage to nearby systems. The team worked tirelessly, using Kelari energy channels to divert excess energy while humans devised stabilizing frameworks for the surrounding fields. It was a delicate operation, requiring perfect timing and trust between species. Hours passed and exhaustion set in, but cooperation prevailed. The star stabilized and the surrounding systems were saved from potential disaster. The expedition returned to Nova Prime as heroes, celebrated not for individual bravery but for teamwork and trust. The news spread across the galaxy. Neutral systems sent messages of admiration, seeking guidance and offering collaboration. Even factions that had once doubted humanity's intentions reached out, curious about this remarkable alliance. Nova Prime had become more than a refuge. It was a beacon of hope. Back on the colony, the humans and Kelari held a celebration under the twin suns. Fires glowed, music played, and children ran freely through the streets. Elders shared stories of both species' histories, blending lessons of the past into visions for the future. Thalen watched, a quiet pride in his heart. "We have survived," he said to Leora, "and we have shown that survival alone is not enough. We can create, inspire, and lead by example. And together, we are stronger than we ever imagined." "They are allies." Thalen reflected on the journey that had brought them here. His people had been exiled, hunted, and abandoned. Yet, through the guidance, courage, and acceptance of humans, they had discovered something the galaxy could not take away: belonging. They had discovered a species willing to see beyond fear, beyond politics, beyond prejudice, to embrace what was different and turn it into strength. Alara gazed at the twin suns as they dipped below the horizon. "This is only the beginning," she said softly. "Our work will spread, our example will inspire. And one day, the galaxy will understand that true strength comes not from control or rejection, but from unity, courage, and the willingness to welcome the rejected." "We have found hope." In that moment, Thalen knew that the galaxy had not only been shown a new example of strength, it had been given a new story. One in which humanity's compassion and ingenuity could change worlds, and in which the rejected and the outcast could rise to stand as equals among the stars. The colony was alive, thriving, and united. Nova Prime shone like a beacon, a testament to the extraordinary power of trust, courage, and partnership. And as humans and Kelari looked to the stars, they saw a future that was no longer defined by fear or limitation, but by possibility, hope, and the extraordinary strength that comes when beings choose to stand together. Nova Prime would continue to grow, to explore, and to inspire. The Kelari had found not only sanctuary, but purpose. Humans had proven that their greatest power was not in weapons or politics, but in their ability to welcome the outcast, to act with courage, and to turn hope into reality. Together, they had rewritten what it meant to survive, to thrive, and to stand against a galaxy that once rejected them. And so, under twin suns and endless stars, the Kelari and humans looked toward the future. The galaxy had rejected them, but humanity had welcomed them. And together, they would rise, stronger, wiser, and unbroken, as a living testament to what could be achieved when kindness, courage, and ingenuity were allowed to lead the way.